We're gonna go to the gym. We're gonna do some upper body work. I wanted to give you guys an update on the subscriber giveaway. At 5,000 subscribers, I will be releasing a full-blown speed sprint training program for you guys. It's gonna be everything you need to do at the track to get faster, specifically for like that 40-yard dash range. That program becomes free at 5,000 subscribers. As of right now, recording this part of the video, we're at 3,777. So we need a little bit over 1,200 subscribers to get there. At the rate that we're growing right now, we're probably looking at about 6 to 8 weeks for it to happen. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, drop comments for the algo, get some growth for the channel, and then we'll be able to get that out to you faster than the next 6 to 8 weeks at our current growth rate right now. Today's focus in the gym, we're gonna be doing our upper body session. We're still in that deload phase of the week. We're about halfway through it right now. So the sessions aren't very exciting. Nothing really crazy is going on in the gym. I'm guessing this session is gonna take about 30 to 45 minutes maximum because I don't have a lot of work to do. We'll put the training up there, knock out today's session. No pre-workout for me today, just going with a little bit of cold brew. Here's a little pro tip. Make sure you understand when and how you should take your caffeine in order to get the best performance on a day-to-day basis. On deload weeks, I don't normally take a lot of caffeine the same way I would on like a heavy lifting week. So I kind of cycle my caffeine based off of my training. I'm always gonna have my coffee, might have an afternoon espresso, stuff like that, but I'm not going to be slamming pre-workouts on like a day like today where I'm just going in and doing 60% effort on a lot of things. I've researched caffeine a lot, I've read a lot of studies about it. When I lived at the Olympic Training Center, I talked to our doctors about it, about how to best utilize caffeine for performance. And the ranges are going to vary based on what you're specifically doing, but it's going to be based off of your body weight. From what I've read and what I understand, caffeine on a daily basis to just get cognitive performance, get some boost of energy, is 2 milligrams up to 4 milligrams per kilo of body weight. So I'm roughly 100 kilos. I'm actually just a little bit below that. But for sake of making it easy, let's just say I'm 100. That would mean 200 milligrams per day would be like a minimum. 400 milligrams per day would be a maximum. And that's not talking about training. That's just what you could consume throughout the day in order to have a little bit of energy, not see any kind of negative side effects from taking high doses of caffeine for too long of a period, and have some positive mental effects, everything that comes along with caffeine. That 2 to 4 milligrams per kilo of body weight is kind of your daily safe range to be at. Now, if we're starting to talk about training and doing exercise, that bumps up a little bit. So it goes from 2 to 4 to a day-to-day basis to, if a pre-training dose of caffeine should be 3 to 6 milligrams per kilogram of body weight prior to doing any sort of training session. I don't do that on deload weeks because I don't feel like I need that. Very few times throughout a training block or even throughout a training phase, you can do kind of a peaking phase with your caffeine, and that's gonna be 6 to 9 milligrams per kilo of body weight. So that would be like days where you're going in for a new PB. If you're doing any sort of testing where you're trying to hit new sprint times, new performance-based metrics, anything like that, prior to a big game, a big meet, whatever it might be, that would be kind of a peaking, but that's not something that's maintainable. At most, I would do that once every 4 weeks within a training phase, probably even like once every 6 to 8 weeks for a lot of people if you're not used to using caffeine that way. But it's gonna be upwards of 6 to 9 milligrams per kilo of body weight, which would mean if I'm at the top end of my caffeine intake, I'm at 900 milligrams, close to a gram of caffeine, which sounds crazy, but it's not something you just go jump out and try to go to 9 milligrams and then go hit a PB. You've got to play around with it and see where your ranges are. Like 600 to 900 is a big range. That's 300 milligrams of caffeine difference between there. So you got to figure out where your range is going to be and what's going to work for you. But what my plan is right now is I'm not taking pre-workouts for the next few days. Tomorrow, probably going to take a rest day because it's a holiday here in Iceland. Everything is going to be closed. I don't think the track is going to be open. So it's gonna just have like my normal coffee, my normal caffeine intake for that day. And then Friday we're gonna go in and we're gonna try to do a 40-yard dash or a flying 10 test, some sort of test, and get a number on where we're at going into the last block of this training phase. So I'll probably go from taking 300 to 400 milligrams of caffeine to Friday I'll probably be about 800 milligrams of caffeine before that run. So that would be the reason too, is you take 3-4 days of doing about half of what you normally do, and then all of a sudden you bump it back up. Friday, the juices should be flowing, things should be firing, we should be able to go out and feel really good on that Friday session. Play with the numbers, figure out what works for you. For me, I'm usually kind of like that mid to higher range of each of those ranges. So like my normal daily intake is probably about 300 to 400 milligrams of caffeine, which for some people that's gonna make them jittery, bouncing off the walls all day long. For me, that's a manageable amount. My pre-workout usually has 300 in it. So we're looking at, I take 300 milligrams prior to workout. I also have coffee, so there's probably another 100. So I'm probably about 400 to 500 milligrams of caffeine prior to doing any of my trainings. And then I will have some peaking days where I'll do double scoop pre-workout, bump that caffeine number up even higher, try to get somewhere where I'm up to like 800 to 900 milligrams and then just go send it on something like that. So hopefully you guys got something out of that. That's kind of what I do right now. We're gonna head to the gym and go knock out our upper body work now. All right, we're getting straight into it today. Deload week is continuing. We're gonna start off with bench press today for our upper body session. I've been doing the bench press with the pins. So bringing that bar down, resting it on the safety arms, exploding through. Today being a deload, I don't want to set up the pins. I'm just going to probably do sets of 4 to 5 today at a very light weight with the bands, just a regular bench press. Still thinking about exploding on each of those reps as I press, but probably only going to have a maximum of about 90 kilos added to the bar with the bands today. So a significant drop in overall weight that's going to be on the barbell, but we'll probably do 3 sets of 4 to 5, depending on how things are feeling, and then we'll move on to some of the accessory work for today. All right, set number 3 or 2. All right, next thing we're gonna do for today is our GHD bent over row type variation. An important thing to remember during a deload week is you don't really want to introduce new movements. So even though I'm probably going to do this with just an empty barbell and I could do some other rowing variation today, you don't really want to introduce a new movement, because even with the amount of training that you may have already been doing, new movements can start to activate muscles in a different way through different movement patterns, which could allow for some soreness to take place, maybe create a different level of fatigue than what you've previously been doing. So ideally, you want to keep those movements the same and just go a lot lighter on what you've been doing. So today, I'm going to do the GHD rows, but I'm only going to use an empty barbell, and again, probably stay around 5 reps. Last set for the rows. Not bad. So last 2 things we're going to do today, we're going to do some pull-ups and then an overhead tricep extension. The pull-ups, probably gonna keep those to like a 4 reps in reserve type range, just meaning like minimum of 4 reps shy of when they start feeling like hard and we get close to that kind of failure mark. So for me, that's probably gonna be in like that 8 to 10 rep range. 2 sets minimum, maybe 3, then we'll knock out an overhead tricep variation using the cable machine. Alright, we're gonna knock out set number 2. Probably only gonna do 2 sets on these today. Reps is good again. Alright, we're going to finish off today with some tricep work. Triceps probably are the only direct arm training that I do. I don't normally do curls and bicep work. Just for me, my arms tend to grow pretty quickly, even with just focusing on like heavier loads with lower repetitions. And anytime I've felt like my arms have gotten big, I just feel like I'm kind of jammed up and too bulky. I can't move as well. So I don't normally train my biceps very often. Triceps though, I do like to train my triceps, especially with what I'm trying to do with building up the jerk and everything. That lockout position is very important. So training the triceps directly helps out a lot with that. The tricep movement I like the most is this kind of overhead tricep position. This overhead position opens up the shoulder, helps build overhead stability as well, because even though I'm directly training the tricep, you still got to incorporate that overhead position by the finishing here. So I'll set up a cable machine and I'll do some single arm extensions overhead. What I'm focused on doing is when my hand is behind my head, I'm thinking about kind of internally rotating and trying to point my finger back behind me. And then when I'm extending through, I'm trying to take that and point my finger all the way away from me as hard as I can. So there's a little bit of internal external rotation from the forearm. So probably just do 8 reps on this again. The other thing too, when I'm doing this, I want to try to keep my elbow stationary, and I'm thinking about arcing my hand over to that end position. So I'm not thinking about just kind of pulling my arm straight, and you'll see how the elbow will dip down and you're kind of pushing out forward. I want to try to maintain that position with my upper arm to my elbow, bring that hand back behind the head, keep the elbow stationary, and I'm thinking about arcing with my hand, so letting my hand go back behind my head, up and over, and extending to the finishing position overhead. So I'll probably just do 2 sets on those as well. So that's going to be it for the session. Appreciate you guys watching. If you haven't, make sure to like, subscribe. Let's get to 5,000 subscribers so I can get y'all that free program, and I'll see you tomorrow. You know what, just for shits and giggles, we'll do a little pose today. So this is after a little bit of a pump. Light weights today, nothing too crazy. But I'm not a poser. I don't do bodybuilding shows, so forgive the lack of expertise here. I think that's a lat spread. Let's try it from behind. Not too bad.